Welcome to the fourth in the Arthropoda phylum and 18th overall for the Marine Invertebrate Biology course. Having left the Malacostraca behind, we are now moving to the class Maxillopoda, and there are only two taxa that you need to know in this class, which are Cirripedia, which are the barnacles, and we'll get to Copepoda later. But these are both very, very important species that are, well, groups that are going to be spread in really all oceans of the world. Okay, so body segments and antennae that are only visible during larval stages. When you think of a barnacle, you don't think of a body like a crayfish. It's something that sits in one spot attached to a rock, or sometimes attached to something that is floating in the ocean, or even whales or large objects, and they attach there after their larval stage, and then they use something called the cirripeds, which cirri and ped, and we see those roots again, feathered and foot, and they use those as filter feeders, but those are thoracic limbs that are modified. They're periopods. So this is what we're talking about when we're looking at barnacles. You have the two types, the kinds that live on rocks, and then the kind that are generally attached to floating objects called goose barnacles. Goose barnacles even attached to substrate, though, like rocks and the like, and there are some goose barnacles that are considered edible and sell for huge amounts of money. They're called percives, and they're a big delicacy in Spain. Anyway, the planktonic larvae, after they are they're brooded. The eggs are brooded, and then the larvae are released. They find some place to settle, and they attach themselves to the substrate by the head. And they have these special glands, these cement glands, and they glue themselves to the head. They look a lot like other arthropod larvae when they're floating around, and then they still have the exoskeleton and jointed limbs, but once they glue themselves to the substrate, they start to be a little bit more specialized, and they grow these plates around them, which you might think are the exoskeleton, especially since they have this thing called the rostrum, and we've seen that in the Malacostracans. But in fact, these are calcium carbonate plates. So calcium carbonate is like seashells. It's something that's different than the chitinous exoskeleton. But it is not the exoskeleton, but they actually secrete these plates around themselves, and you can see that they're somewhat cemented together, but as they're growing, and these plates have these joins, which allows them to sort of flex and grow, so that this thing can get a little bit bigger as it grows. And they're called, as a whole, the whole thing is called the carina. Okay, and the whole shell that it lives within, and then it's got two trap doors that are made up of the scutum and tergum, and that trap door is called the aperture, or the aperture is the opening, just like an opening in a camera. But these two are the two trap doors are called the opercula. Okay, so those will open and allow the modified thoracic appendages, the modified periopods, the cirripeds, to come out and filter feed. And I will put links to the videos of these things actually feeding on Moodle. And I highly recommend you check them out in order to understand barnacles. Here's a nice image of a barnacle within its shell. There's not a lot. You can see this is essentially just a big bag of guts, viscera, and what the remaining bits that make it look a bit like an arthropod. The arthropod characteristics are these here, these jointed limbs with chitinous exoskeleton. Here are the Parasites edible barnacle. Okay. This is a great video. These one of the claims to fame of cirripeds, of barnacles, is they have the longest penis to body weight ratio of any animal on the planet. And so I'll let you watch that video, but it's quite amazing. And it shows you how they can copulate even though they're sitting in one place that is they're not able to move to find a mate. Is a nice picture of the barnacle cirriped out. Okay, these are jointed limbs, with very much like the euphausid shrimps, the krill. They've got these modified thoracic appendages that will go out and filter the water. Okay, that's it for cirripeds, and I really would recommend you go and watch the videos. Once you watch the action of those cirripeds, you're gonna understand them a lot better. Copepods. Copepods, again, as I've said before, um, very much probably the most important link between phytoplankton and fish or larger predators, larger animals within the water column anywhere in the ocean. So they are small enough to be able to eat the phytoplankton, which fish and the like would not be able to eat very well, but large enough for those fish and other predators to be able to see. And so they allow the transfer of energy from the primary producers up the food chain. So they could be, but they have quite a lot of life cycles anyway. Those were the planktonic ones that I was talking about, but they can be benthic, planktonic, or parasitic. Much of the world is zooplankton, and in these ones, they have the same body plan as other arthropods, but the abdomen doesn't have any appendages. Okay, so much like a spider or an insect, the abdomen lacks appendages. And they only have one eye, much like plankton on SpongeBob, just like that. Okay, so they've got one eye spot, and they've got these, but you can still see one pair of antenna, another pair of antenna. These ones, interestingly, they use to actually move themselves. Then they've got the abdomen, okay, with the fan-like appendages at the back. Big body, there's the cephalothorax, and some of them trail these long appendages, some of them don't, but no abdominal appendages. These are more modifications of the tail fan, but they don't have pleopods. Okay, here you go. Another picture of the body of a copepod. Okay, and it's a big cephalothorax. Here's a micrograph of one that is brooding her eggs underneath her abdomen. So again, there's still you see some of the same characteristics of the other arthropods in these copepods. Again, as we said before, lots of different modes of feeding, and the antennae are used as swimming appendages. Another link to a video on YouTube. Again, the more you can see these things in action, the more you understand the animals. Please do go and watch those YouTube videos. And that's it for arthropods. Please do go and watch the videos. Please do go to your theory book and look at the highlighted black bold list of taxa that for which you'll be responsible. Remember that they have a single body plan that is universal for all of the arthropods with the jointed exoskeleton and are the jointed limbs and the chitinous exoskeleton. And that's it. We'll see you in the next video.